Cancer is one of the greatest medical mysteries of our time. It is the second highest cause of death in the United States, with over 600,000 confirmed deaths per year, while there are over 9 million confirmed deaths every year worldwide. Despite countless years of research, the question is, why is the battle with cancer still so prevalent today? What even is cancer? These questions can be answered starting at the genomic level. Everyone has their own unique set of DNA, which is made up of nucleic acids that encode for proteins to do things in your body. This can be a confusing series of events to follow, but just know that the DNA in your cells and your environment you live in work together to tell your body what to do. Specific regions of this DNA that encode for certain actions are called genes. Now, cancer is a disease where cells in the body have an enhanced rate of proliferation, which means that these cells grow and divide at an uncontrollable rate. Oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes are two types of genes that regulate cell growth. A gene is considered an oncogene if it leads to a characteristic of cancer when it experiences a gain-of-function mutation, which is a mutation that enhances the influence of that gene in some way. A gene is considered a tumor suppressor gene if it leads to a characteristic of cancer when it experiences a loss-of-function mutation, which is a mutation that diminishes the influence of that gene. Once a single cancer cell becomes cancerous, it gains the ability to divide uncontrollably and can outcompete neighboring cells, much like a weed in a garden growing faster than the flowers around it. As the cancer cell multiplies, its offspring also regain these aggressive traits, gradually forming a cluster that expands into nearby tissue. There are a number of mutations that can help cancerous growth increase its ability to outcompete other cells, and these mutations normally lead to one of these 8 characteristics of cancer. The first one is self-sufficiency in growth signals. Cancer cells make themselves grow and divide even when the body isn't telling them to, like accelerating a car even when your foot isn't on the gas pedal. The second one is insensitivity to anti-growth signals. Cancer cells ignore the body's signals that usually tell cells to stop growing, so it's like your car also doesn't have brakes. Cancer cells can multiply without normal limits, meaning they don't age or stop dividing like healthy cells do in your body. Now the car has an infinite supply of gasoline. The fourth one is evading apoptosis. Apoptosis is a name for a common mechanism where the cell basically signals itself to die. The fifth characteristic is sustained angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is when cells signal for the body to build new blood vessels in an area, ensuring they get the nutrients needed to continue growing at their enhanced rate. The sixth characteristic is tissue invasion, or metastasis. Metastasis is a fancy term for cells spreading from their original spot and invading new cells in other areas of the body. The seventh is avoiding immune destruction. Your immune system normally attacks cells or diseases that aren't supposed to be in the body, but cancer cells have ways of hiding from or blocking immune cells' effects. The eighth characteristic is intratumor heterogeneity. This is a fancy way of saying inside the tumor, not all cells are cancer cells. Different cancer cells have different jobs and mutations. This microenvironment of different cells doing different things makes tumors hard to treat as a whole, and it helps the tumors adapt to changes in the body. Evading apoptosis and avoiding immune destruction help the cancer cells survive the body's defense mechanisms. And so, what are we left with? We're left with therapies, which are treatments that humans endure in hopes of healing or relieving a disease. The 4 main types of therapies that we have come up with are surgery, radiation therapy, chemotherapy, and targeted therapies. Surgery can take tumors out of the body in some cases, but it is an extremely invasive process that might cause surgical side effects. Another thing to note is that the cancer could have already metastasized, or if the tumor is in, on, or near a vital bodily organ, surgery might be too risky to pursue without harming or killing the patient. Radiation therapy is a therapy in which high-energy rays or particles are blasted to a precise area of cancerous growth in a patient, breaking the DNA in the tumors, leading to the death of the tumor cells. Radiation harms both normal cells and cancerous cells, but is much more effective at killing cancerous cells because they lost their natural ability to repair their DNA in mutation. The other thing to note about radiation is that you can only use it on tumors you can see since it is directed, and so it doesn't account for metastasized cells or tumors you have yet to find in the body. Chemotherapy is a general term used for taking powerful medications which enter the bloodstream and target any cells throughout the body that proliferate at an unusually high rate. This explains why patients undergoing chemo lose their hair, given that hair cells proliferate at an unusually high rate. Chemo has the unique, effective characteristic of targeting cancerous growth that is unidentified throughout the body. However, chemo isn't always effective due to either the patient's negative bodily response to the drugs or the cancer has already built drug resistance. Targeted therapies are similar to chemotherapy, except they are drugs that directly target certain molecules or mechanisms that are involved with cancerous activity, rather than targeting all high-proliferative cells. Their specificity can be very effective. However, this specificity doesn't take into account the many different types of cells in tumors, the many different mechanisms that can lead to the same type of cancer, and the fact that cancer tissues can choose to proliferate cells resistant to the therapy through somatic selection. The cancer microenvironment's adaptive ability to build resistance is a challenge for all supplemental cancer therapies. No therapy is perfect. Even using therapies simultaneously doesn't always regress the disease. More and more of the mystery of cancer is unraveled every year and every day by scientists around the world. Treatments and therapies are getting better over the years, but there are still many puzzles to be solved in the lab. Make sure to support your local cancer laboratories or get involved, because it is our job as a society to collaborate and fight this disease that takes so many lives every year.